when we have woundings around something, say we were a child, and some of our needs didn't get met, or we were made fun of about something, maybe being too sensitive, or there was some parts of that was not okay in our family of origin, like being angry. Then in order to belong, we shut those aside. And here I'm going to actually introduce something by Dr. Gabor Mate. As children, we choose attachment over authenticity. And what does that mean? That we choose to belong by giving up those authentic parts of us, because the need for belonging and attachment is greater than the desire to be authentic. And of course, why is this important at this particular point is because now we're actually working towards authenticity. We're trying to actualize what we want to actualize. We want to be the fullest expression of who we are. And so those wounds that are related to our attachment figures and early childhood experiences, whether they were traumatic or not, all of us experience some aspects of ourselves which were not safe to show up in our family of origin. So those pieces have been exiled, and those are the parts that are in the shadow. Exiles are those parts of us that have been put away in the shadow. And in IFS, the idea is that we're not like one person, we have several parts. All of those parts have their own personalities. So we are made up of multiplicity of parts. So some of those parts are exiles. Now, exiles are usually very tender, they're younger, they're in the shadow, but in order to protect those exiles, then we have protectors. And there are two types of protectors. They're managers and they're firefighters. And I'm not going to go into great detail, but just to give you a little bit of a distinction, managers are those parts of us that keep doing things in order to keep things level and keep managing them so that we look perfect. We keep performing at the level we think we need to be performing. We create relationships in a way that we don't feel rejected. We show up for people rather than ourselves because that feels safer to do and manages the equilibrium and the safety that we are used to. So managers are doing that role. And at the same time, though, life is happening, and there are times when managers aren't going to be able to keep the lid on, so to speak, on those wounds. And so at those times, when the intensity gets really high, when we get really overwhelmed, when we get triggered, when we get activated, we have firefighters who come in to douse the fire, which is why the term was originated. And what they will do is that they will use very aggressive means in order to keep whatever is trying to not show up down, because those wounds are inside of us and they can be reactivated. And so the firefighters will come in, and this is where the serious coping skills come in of addictions, eating, drugs, alcohol, sex, shopping, any of those where now we need something that's like a hit, like a big hit, a dopamine hit. When we are in that space and we approach our own parts, from that place of compassion and caring and love, then we can start having a relationship with these parts, right? And then they no longer have to be in the shadow.